And we're looking for that neutral pelvis, so not tipping forward, which is not typical anyways, and for most of us in this kind of a seat, but also not, tipping way back. So if you find yourself kind of rolling towards the back of the sit bones and having a hard time getting out of that position, if you put a blanket right under the sit bones, that might help to kind of tip your pelvis forward a little bit and get neutral. Less work on the front of the hips. Excuse me, Miss Stella. I'm going to mute you guys. I don't think I did that yet. Okay. And then reach down and go ahead and grab your left sit bone. See if you can find it. And then you're just going to guide it. You can grab like the inside edge of your left sit bone and just start to drag it out to the left, while at the same time taking the whole area between your sit bones and go ahead and shift that off to the left, to the right. And then you're going to let that sit down and see how it feels. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to reach down and find your right sit bone. You can kind of curl your fingers right around the inside edge of it. Go ahead and dig right on in there. And then could you imagine sliding it out to the right while you shift the space between the sit bones to the left? And it might not feel like you're going to go far, but then when you put it down, hopefully you feel a bit more grounded. And then press the sit bones down. Feeling the crown of the head rise up. And it's almost like you're pushing the head up by pressing down through the floor. And then we're going to deepen the breath, but for the first few, deep breaths, go ahead and bring your fists right up to the sides of the rib cage. You don't have to be really high up by the armpits, but just right around the bottom side ribs. Yeah, and then we're just going to see, can we breathe the hands apart? So when you inhale, move the hands wide. And then on the exhale, they just relax back in. The inhale will spread the ribs wide and up, and then the exhale will relax them in and down. And I find this to be super helpful in managing anxiety. Because it encourages the breath to go a little lower into the abdomen. And when we're stressed, we naturally start to breathe higher up into the chest, because this whole area in the belly gets really tight to either brace for a hit or, to get us to start running away or to curl up into a ball to hide. You're letting your belly be a bit soft. The breath will drop in low. You can even wrap your hands right around your bottom ribs, so your thumbs kind of curl around the back and right into that area where you're experiencing that discomfort. But if you think about, getting the breath to move your thumbs around your back bottom ribs, that can also be really helpful. Do that for a couple breaths. Let the hands rest down. And hopefully whatever ease that might have helped you create, you can keep it. And take the blanket. You have one of the squishy balls. You can use like the Gorgeous ball for this too if you want. Or else we'll take the blanket and we're going to fold it into thirds. So you have something about this wide. And then you're going to roll that up. So we're all working with different props, right? So they might not all fold quite the same, but you're looking for a roll-up blanket that's about the size of like a football or like one of those Nalgene water bottles. Something about that size. And that might end up being too big, so you can always make it smaller once we start. That's going to go right in the lower belly, so below the navel, above the pubic bone. Excuse me, Stella. And then you're going to lie face down. You can either stack the hands, let the forehead rest. You can bring the arms down by the sides. So choose what feels best for your neck. And if it feels like way too much, you can't even imagine being able to relax, unroll the blanket a bit. You can rock the hips slowly from side to side. And you'll probably feel gas bubbles moving around. It might feel a little uncomfortable. That will go away the longer we stay here, or it should. If all you feel is a really strong pulse pushing back at you, you can shift a little bit back or forward so that that's less. And then remember what it felt like to have your fists on the sides of your ribs. And breathe your imaginary fists apart. And so as we encourage the breath to go lower, the inhale is going to naturally fill up into the blanket. So you can let your inhale kind of push the blanket away. And then when you exhale, can you relax the contents of your abdomen so much that you actually let the blanket sink in deeper? And there'll be some resistance as, your belly decides, is this safe? Can I do this? And so maybe just a little bit at a time with each exhale, you relax maybe a tiny bit more. And this can be a bit intense, and so it's natural to want to not be here. So you might be daydreaming, you might be, starting to plan the rest of your day, just mentally pulling yourself out of what's happening right now. So that's normal, but when you catch yourself doing it, see if you can remind yourself to just breathe, to just watch your breath. And then bend your right knee. And you can just start to draw circles with your lower leg. And they might be small circles at first. You might see what it's like to make them a bit bigger. Notice the parts of the circle that are harder for your leg to get into. So maybe it's easy to draw that kind of outer half of the circle, but when it comes to moving left, it's a bit harder. So maybe you go slower through that part. So you can get in there a little bit more. And then keeping that knee bent, what would it be like to crawl up onto your forearms? And on your forearms, you're pressing down through the elbows. Your palms are pressing down to the floor. And you can imagine dragging your chest forward. And then maybe you reach back for your right foot and bring it in towards your hips. You can release the foot, lie back down. Wiggle out the hips if you need to. And then we'll bend the left knee and draw some circles with the lower leg. Maybe come up onto your forearms. Maybe reach back and grab the foot. And you can release. Tuck both sets of toes under, still on the blanket. And then with your toes tucked under, reach back through your heels. That might lift your legs up or lift your knees up off the floor. Maybe play with coming up into Sphinx pose with your toes tucked. And if you're up in your Sphinx pose, your elbows are pressing down, your palms are pressing down and trying to drag your heart forward, and your heels are trying to pull you back. And then we'll release all of that, take the blanket out, and press back into child's pose. Breathe your ribs wide. Get some breath to move into the space where your thumbs are wrapped around your back, bottom ribs. And then from here, take your knees out wide, maybe mat width, maybe wider than your mat. If you're going wider than your mat, you might want to blanket down. Maybe the knees can come wider. Maybe your hips can move forward so they're in line with your knees. It could be easy to really hang into the lower back in more of a back bend here, but I want you to think about kind of drawing the low belly up. And there's usually one part, maybe somewhere along the inner thigh, that's really calling out to you. And so you'll put all of your attention in that spot. Maybe imagine moving your breath into that spot. And you're just going to be with that sensation like you would be with a friend in need. Just sitting and listening. And maybe with that attention and support, that area will start to unwind a bit. That sensation might slowly reduce. Things are feeling comfortable and your hips are in line with your knees. If you take your feet out in line with your knees as well. So the toes will point out to the sides, inner feet down. So in that full frog position. And then to come out, we're just gonna lay on our bellies. You're gonna roll over onto your back. Taking your feet mat width apart, letting knees drop in a bit. Walk your feet in so they're right under your knees. You're going to bring your hands right to the top of your thighs, so right below the front hip points, top of the thigh bones. And I want you to push forward with your arms. And as you push forward with your arms, your pelvis is going to naturally tip forward just a little bit, maybe a lot. I want you to hold your arms or hold your hands right where they are so your thighs stay put. And then imagine you could relax the pelvis back to neutral. So when you push the top of your thigh bones forward, it's going to drag your pelvis forward a little bit into a forward tilt. So your pubic bone will naturally rock forward away from you. And the top of the sacrum, the back of the hips, lifts up off the floor. So from there, holding your hands at the top of your thighs, can you imagine the pelvis could tip back or just kind of settle back so that the top of your sacrum drops back towards the floor. And could you imagine relaxing all of the tissue under your hands? And then release that. Take your feet mat width if they're not there already. You're going to turn the toes out wider than the heels. And let both knees drop over to the left. You just see how this feels with gravity. Maybe take your left foot on top of the right thigh to encourage that knee more towards the floor. And I want you to imagine that your right thigh bone was inwardly rotating. So you had like this inward spin towards the floor, this kind of corkscrew rotation, even as the thigh bone slides further away from your hip. So like there's like this spiral towards the front left corner of your mat. And this might feel like enough, but you might also take the right arm up alongside the ear. You can hold onto the right wrist with your left hand and give that arm a little pull. And the right thigh bone continues to spiral towards the front left corner of your mat. And that's like 98% imaginary. Let's take one more breath. And then release, come back to constructive rest. See how things feel. And then again, feet as wide as the mat, toes turned out. The knees will drop off to the right. Maybe the right foot helps weigh that left thigh down. And then could you imagine your left thigh bone inwardly rotating, so towards the floor, as it reaches towards the front right corner of your mat. And the inner left foot can press down a bit. The right foot can press down to the thigh. The left thigh can even press up a little bit into the right foot as it continues to kind of corkscrew forward to the right. And maybe the left arm reaches up alongside the ear. Maybe you give that arm a little pull. And when things feel about even, you can come back to constructive rest. Maybe windshield wiper your knees from side to side a few times. Hug the knees into your chest. Rock up to a seat. You're gonna cross the ankles, feet on the ground. You can do this elevated on a block. If you try to stand up and you can't, sit up on a block and then try it again. But we're gonna have the ankles crossed and just try to stand up, no hands. I'm not watching you, so just get up however you get up. Okay. And then find your mountain pose. So feet solid on the ground, hip width apart, pushing into the floor like we did with our sit bones when we were seated. So feel like you could push down into your feet to send the head taller. And then fists right on the side ribs again. And how does it feel to breathe wide now? So hopefully we've made some space. Anything that might have been really tight down in the abdomen, especially those psoas muscles, but other muscles, if there's tension in the abdomen, it can pull down on the diaphragm and prevent us from being able to breathe easily, which then also limits the movement of the rib cage. So let's just see. Does it feel easier to send the fists out wide? And then we'll do this pranayama practice, breath work that I learned from Angela Farmer that I've been loving so much, and I know some of you guys mentioned that you've been loving it as well. So take a regular breath in, exhale it out, and then we're going to inhale, fill all the way up. Hold at the top of the inhale, and with fists, you're just going to tap out your rib cage. Hitting the back, sides, those upper ribs, while you hold the breath, and then on the exhale, with palms, tap the rib cage as we exhale. And at the bottom of the breath, as we hold the exhale, on the exhale retention, we use fingertips. Breathe in. Breathe out. We'll do it again. Breathe in. Hold. Palms as you exhale. Fingertips as you hold. Inhale. Exhale. And we'll do one more time. Inhale, fill up. Hold. Exhale. And fingertips. And then breathe in. And breathe out. Inhale, reach up. Hold the right wrist. Side bend to the left. And that right heel might have lightened on the floor, so re-anchor it. By what you think about sending that right heel down from the place where your thumbs wrapped around your back bottom ribs. So could you imagine lengthening from that spot all the way down into the heel to get that foot nice and solid on the ground? And then we'll inhale, reach up. Exhale, the arms can come down. Again, inhale, reach up. This time, hold the left wrist. We'll side bend to the right. You're going to re-anchor the left heel from that spot where your thumbs wrapped around your back bottom ribs. And then inhale, reach up. And exhale, fold all the way down. All the way down. Hold opposite elbows.
Let your head go. And your feet are still pushing the floor away, just like when you were standing up. So your heels press down. Your legs are working towards straight. Hips are floating towards the ceiling. Can you let your head be heavy? You release the base of the skull. Could you release your rib cage from your lower back? You imagine that. So soft bellies. Maybe the hands come down. Head nice and heavy, belly soft, legs strong. So the feet push the floor. And then you could imagine all of the energy that you push down to the floor, pulling right back up your legs like you're pulling on a pair of pants. You're pulling on a pair of tights. And then walk into downward facing dog. And see if you can feel that same connection between your legs and the floor. So even though your legs are in a different angle here, can you push the floor away with your feet and feel all that energy come up the legs to lift your hips higher? Can you do the same thing with your hands and your arms? As you push the floor away, can you feel all that rebound right back up to lift the hips higher? The belly is soft. Good. Inhale, take your right leg back and up. And exhale, bend the knee, open up the hip. Arms still rooted. And then step forward, release the back knee down. Inhale, take the arms up. Exhale, take the arms down. Inhale, straighten the right leg any amount. You can lift the toes up, push down through the heel. Exhale, come back forward. Inhale, the arms come up. Exhale, the arms come down. Inhale, straighten the right leg. Exhale, lunge. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, straighten the leg. Exhale, lunge. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, the right arm is going to come down. Side bend, inhale. Exhale, left arm comes down. Side bend, inhale. And then we'll swoop it forward and around to bring the right hand down. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, the left arm comes down. Inhale, the right arm comes up. More like that. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, complete the circle with the right arm, reaching back towards that foot. Maybe grab it.
If you don't have the foot, you're in the lunge, reaching back through the arm, bending into that front knee. If you have the foot, you could come down onto your left forearm and bring the heel in towards your butt. And I'm just going to hold here. Notice what's calling for your attention the most. So we were talking a little bit last week, when we have a strong sensation like that, that's your body asking you if you're safe, right? And so then, depending on how intense it is, you have to decide. Maybe it's not safe and you have to back off. Or maybe you can hang with it and breathe and have that conversation with your nervous system to say, like, no, actually, this is safe. And maybe that sensation subsides a bit. And I can't tell, looking at you from the outside, you know, is it safe or not? So you have to make that call. Release the foot if you have it. Let's step back into a plank. It didn't freeze, we're just still here. Keep breathing. Now where you have the blanket roll in your lower belly, you're lifting that area up towards your sacrum to help hold you up. You're pulling that back up towards the spine. Good, and your hands, just like your feet in standing, just like your sit bones in a seated pose, are pushing the floor away, and your chest rises away from the floor. Yes, I just saw some of you guys just lifted up a whole inch. Let's take one more breath in. Really nice work, you guys. Lower down onto your belly. Take your arms down by your sides. Let's lift up into locust pose. Everything lifts up, arms back. Everything lifts up. And then, can you feel the same corkscrews coming down your thigh bones as you had in that little stretch on our backs? So there's like this inner spiraling of the thighs. Yeah. And the inner spiraling here is towards the ceiling, yeah, instead of towards the floor. So rather than the spiral turning your feet out wide, it's turning your toes down. Yep. And then hands come under your shoulders. And we're just going to tip it back until the feet touch down. When the feet touch, we'll pull the heart forward and up. And then exhale, lower, press through tabletop, and we'll come into downward facing dog. Good. Hands and feet, pushing the floor to float the hips. Inhale the left leg back and up. Bend the knee, open up the hips. Excuse me. And then step forward into your lunge. Back knee comes down. We'll inhale to take the arms up. Exhale to take the arms down. Inhale, left leg straightens. Exhale, lunge. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, left leg works towards straight. And then exhale, we bend again. Inhale. Exhale.
Inhale. Exhale. Holding here, inhale the left arm up. Exhale, take it down. Inhale the right arm up. Exhale, take it down. And then we'll start to kind of swoop forward. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, complete the circle with the left hand. Reach back for the foot, maybe grab it. Maybe lower onto your right forearm for that quad stretch. There's some big, stubborn muscles that might need a longer conversation to understand that they can relax. So we'll hold here. And you're just gonna drop your whole attention down into the biggest sensation of the pose. So you're just gonna like be in there. Be with it. Even if it feels a little uncomfortable and that's something that you normally want to just run far away from, can you be there and breathe? And can you breathe in a way that tells your system like, okay, I'm safe. This might not be the most comfortable place I've ever been, but I'm safe. All right, and then release that. And we'll go back to our plank pose. Feel your breath. Can you stay with yourself when things get tough? Can you let yourself feel some discomfort and breathe instead of running away? This is so hard. Take another breath in. And then we'll exhale, lower down. Nice work, you guys. Cobra pose as you inhale. Hands down, just like when we were in our Sphinx, you're pulling back with your hands to pull the heart forward and up. So you're making all this space for the lower back to back bend, which it loves to do. Spread the collarbones wide. Take the tops of the shoulder blades back so you have some space for your neck. Good. You breathe in on purpose. Okay, and then downward facing dog. Inhale, take the right leg back and up. Exhale, step it forward. Release the back knee down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, step into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Push into the feet, stand all the way up. Inhale.
Feet press down to keep you tall, and then exhale, fold all the way back down. Lengthen out your spine, inhale. Forward, exhale, plank. Lower halfway or all the way onto your belly. Back bend as you inhale. Downward facing dog, exhale. Take a breath in. Exhale, step your left foot forward, release the right knee down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold at the front of your mat. Push through the feet, stand up, inhale. Exhale, fold all the way down. Good, long spine, inhale, look forward. Exhale, step back, plank. Lower halfway or all the way down. Back bend as you inhale. Open up the chest. Good, downward facing dog, exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. Good, inhale. And then this time, exhale, step the right foot forward. Keep the back knee lifted, come into your high lunge, inhale. High lunge, crescent lunge, back knees up, gaze at one spot. And then swoop your arms back like lotus pose, or locust pose. And then you're gonna stand up on that front foot, lifting your left leg. Good. Good, arms reach back, chest is open like cobra. That left leg is reaching back and up, that right foot is pushing the floor away. Good, gaze at one spot. Don't forget to breathe, take another breath in, and then exhale, bring the hands down, keep your leg lifted. See if you can point that leg up to the ceiling. Good, step the feet together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Just pausing here for a moment, feel your feet on the ground, even out your breath. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Long spine, inhale, look forward. Exhale, plank. Lower halfway or all the way down. Back bend as you inhale. Downward facing dog, exhale. Take a breath in. Exhale, step your left foot forward. High lunge, come on up. So there's a little bit of that internal rotation on your back thigh. Both legs pushing the floor away, both feet pushing the floor away. Good. And then we'll sweep the arms back and pick the back leg up. Take a step forward into it if you need to. Yeah, gaze at one spot. Still feel that internal rotation on the back leg, on the back thigh. Yeah, so you're not peeling the hip open. Hips are level. That's it. Gaze at one spot. Cobra pose in the chest. Standing foot is pushing the floor away. Good. And then the hands come down and your leg stays up and maybe it lifts even higher. So you could imagine pushing the floor down with your left foot and pushing the ceiling up with your right. Yeah. And it's in your imagination, and then step your feet together. Good. Inhale, lengthen out your spine. And exhale, fold forward. Push down into the feet, stand up. And bring your hands to your heart. Good. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Long spine, inhale, look forward. Exhale, plank to lower halfway or onto your belly with control. Good. Back bend as you inhale. And downward facing dog, exhale. Okay, so from here, we're gonna bring the right knee forward in between your hands. So not as wide as you would take it for pigeon pose, and then you're gonna slide your left knee right back behind it. See if you can stack your knees, feet wider than your hips. Then we're gonna sit back. You might wanna sit back on a block. So I had been taking some classes with Angela Farmer. She's a wonderful yoga teacher out of Greece. And she was encouraging us to pick our least favorite place to go and try to go there every day and just kind of be there and watch it. And this is it for me, guys. This is it. So, taking you along my journey. If it feels like your left sit bone has lifted up off the floor, go ahead and put something under your hips so that both sit bones can start to be level. So you could actually encourage that right sit bone down. And then even if as you encourage it down, if it's like still hanging out away from the floor, then you do want to elevate your hips a bit. How are we doing so far? So far, so good? Some of you guys is going to be not your least favorite pose. You might be able to fold right on forward and kind of snuggle your chin over the top of your kneecap. But it might be enough to just sit upright here as well and just really think about letting that right sit bone drop down. And so you're just going to close your eyes and listen to the part that's calling out the most. If it's not possible to stack the knees, it's fine to be in a cross-legged position. I can't see all of your lower body. Some of you guys I can't see at all. So just know that that's okay if that's where you're at. And then we're going to unwind. You can spread the feet from side to side a bit. And then we'll do the other side. Bring your right knee. You can come into downward facing dog in between if you want. Just kind of shift the hips from side to side. Pedal out the feet. And then you'll bring your left knee forward. Snuggle the right knee back behind it. So a strong sensation is usually telling you like, hey, this is not a place I usually go. Is this safe to go here? And so the answer might be no. Especially if you're feeling like your knees are getting a little bit tweaky, back out. Elevate your hips as much as you need to. You take it into more of a, just a cross-legged seat if that's enough of a challenge for you. But you just kind of hang out with the sensation. It doesn't feel like it's dangerous. And you start that conversation with your breath. And sometimes you actually can say words in your head too, like, hey, listen, I know this is not your favorite place to be, but you're okay, and I'm here. You don't have to have an internal dialogue. You can actually just breathe. Can your left sit bone root down next to your right? Maybe there's a forward fold available for you. And then you can unwind. Windshield wiper the feet up from side to side. All right. So we'll journey through the hips this morning. I'm going to finish it out with Hero's Pose, which is another place that most of us probably don't hang out in very often, so it might be a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm folding up my blanket to be a bit of a bolster. You might want more than this, so I've just kind of folded up something to hold my back. You could use a bolster, you could use, cushions from your couch, pillows, stack all this stuff up on some blocks if you need to. So we're going into Hero. So your feet are going to be wider than your hips, and you're sitting in between your feet, maybe on a block. So if the floor feels too far away, you'll put a block under your hips and sit right down on a block. We have this corkscrew, internal rotation of the thigh bones. And it might be enough to just sit. So this is asking quadriceps to lengthen, and they're very big and stubborn. It's also asking for this internal rotation that most of us don't hang out in. There's not a lot of poses that we do in yoga that have this internal rotation. This is one of few. So it might not be comfortable. So you got to start that conversation again. How does it feel to breathe here? Is there a way to feel safe here? And that doesn't mean not listening to signals from your knees. If they're saying like, hey, I don't like this at all, you want to listen to that and back out. So that might mean elevating your hips more. That might mean taking the knees actually a little bit wider. Sometimes that feels better. But then if things are feeling okay upright, even if you're sitting on a block, you can start to make your way back a little bit. And as we come back, if you're elevated on a block, you might not need it anymore. So you can play around with taking it out. It just depends. Sometimes when we shift the weight back, the knees are more comfortable. You don't need the block under the hips. Sometimes the block under the hips makes this much more of a back bend, which can be less comfortable. So you just kind of play around and see what works for you today. Maybe you come down just onto your forearms and you pause through each step to like remind yourself you're safe. And if you're not safe, you back out. Maybe you lie back. It's one of those positions Katie knows, like kids sit in this position so easily, and obviously some of that is all of their muscles and tendons haven't quite developed the same way, but also they're just used to sitting on the floor. They're used to sitting in positions like this, and so it does feel more safe. And then we get older, we're at work, we're in chairs, we're in cars, we're on the couch all the time, and we just kind of lose some of this. We lose some options. So part of our practice of yoga is, can we remind our body of all the different ways that we can move, so we have options, so we keep options as we age. Yeah, sometimes a weight on the belly, if you're lying on your back, can feel really good. Sometimes that weight is a human. Sometimes a cat. My cat will always sit on my belly in this pose. How's it feel to breathe here? So when we intentionally create a bit of discomfort with our yoga, we're able to practice how we calm ourselves down, how we soothe ourselves when we're not, in our happy place. And so we practice the skill of self-soothing, of taking a pause so that we can reset our nervous system so we can move forward more clearly. Because when we're in that state of overwhelm, we're not seeing reality as it is. We're very susceptible to all our old stuff. All right. You can start to come on out. Let's come into constructive rest. It might feel good to windshield wiper your feet or your knees from side to side. Maybe take the legs straight up to the ceiling. You can just shake it out. So you can shake the legs, keep the belly soft, so you can get a sense of your muscle and the tissue wrapping around your legs, kind of shaking on the bones. Can you shake the contents of your belly? You can sigh it out. When you've gotten out all the wiggles, let's take Shavasana. Support it as needed. Take up as much space as you like. Let your attention drop into the skin on your back. You can feel into the inside of the skin of your back, whole back side of the body. Can all your bones just settle into that, to the skin of the back side of your body.
How do you feel? Take a long breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Maybe a full body stretch. Hug the knees in and roll over towards your more open nostril side. And then press up to a seat. And bring the hands to the heart. And we'll close out our practice by chanting one Om. Om. Nice work, you guys. Thank you so much. So, unmute you guys for